There are two things you need to understand before you start Mounjaro. The first is, this isn't a quick fix. And the second is, you may end up taking it for longer than you ever imagined. Because when most people start these weight loss medications, they picture the journey looking something like this. Lose the weight, reach your goal, stop the injections, move on with life. Simple. What if it isn't that simple? What if reaching your target weight is actually the beginning of the hardest decision you may ever have to make? Because over the past year, one question has come up more than any other. Mando's midlife. Are you going to stay on Mounjaro forever? And do you know what the truth is? I don't know. And if you're taking Mounjaro, Wegovy, Ozempic, any of the GLP-1s, there's a good chance you've wondered exactly the same thing at some point or another. So in this video, I want to look at what the evidence actually says, what happens when people stop taking these medications, and why doctors are increasingly talking about obesity as a long-term condition. So if you're new here, my name is Mando's Midlife. I have lost over 80 pounds now on my medicated weight loss journey. I inject 10 milligrams of Mounjaro every single weekend into my belly. This channel is all about documenting the highs, the lows, and all the boring bits in between. If you're new here, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. So one of the first questions almost everyone asks before starting Mounjaro is, will I have to stay on this forever? And it's an understandable way to think because most people begin with a very simple goal in their mind. Lose the weight, stop taking the medication, carry on as though nothing had happened. And that feels completely logical because that's how we approach most treatments. You take your antibiotics until the infection clears, you wear a cast until the bone heals, the treatment ends when the problem is solved. It's as simple as that. So it's really to assume that with weight loss, the medication is going to work in exactly the same way. Once you've reached your target weight, the job's done. It's straightforward. It's an expectation that we've probably all got. And before I started, I probably would have thought exactly the same. The reality, though, is a little bit more complicated, and understanding why changes the conversation completely. Now, one of the reasons this question keeps coming up time and time again is because researchers have now looked at what happens when people stop taking these medications. One of the most widely discussed studies followed people after they discontinued treatment, and the results caught an awful lot of attention. Over the following year, participants regained, on average, 2/3 of the weight they had previously lost. And another long-term extension of the SURMOUNT-4 trial found that people who continued taking tirzepatide generally maintained or even increased their weight loss. And at first glance, that can seem so discouraging, can't it? Because it's important to understand why this has happened. For many people like myself, the medication wasn't just helping me eat less through willpower alone. It was reducing my appetite, quieting down my food noise, and making me feel fuller sooner and longer. So as soon as that medication is removed, those biological signals will just return, making it much harder to maintain the same calorie intake. It's as simple as that, isn't it? That doesn't mean weight gain is inevitable. We can't go into it thinking that, because what we don't want to assume is that people are just failing left, right and centre here, because people can maintain a significant proportion of the weight they've lost if, and it's a big if they've managed to build sustainable habits around eating and food. Also, obviously, activity and lifestyle are massive players in this game. So all the studies do is they simply remind us that obesity is influenced by biology as well as behaviour, which is why the answer to whether you should stop Mounjaro isn't as simple as reaching that magical number on the scales. Before we move on, talking about the understanding of obesity and the things that have changed over the last few years, I am not a medical professional. I am literally sharing my experience, how I feel, what I go through, what I've learned whilst I've been on my weight loss medication. So please don't be thinking I'm a doctor or a health professional. I'm really not. What's happened now is obesity was often treated as a personal failure or simply a lack of willpower, and that was the reason why we all put on weight, because we were eating too much. Many medical organisations now completely view it differently. Even the World Health Organization, the European Association for the Study of Obesity, American Medical Association now recognise obesity as a chronic and relapsing disease. In other words, it's a condition that can be improved with medication, but it will also have a tendency to return if the underlying biology isn't managed. And that's why doctors are now increasingly comparing it to high cholesterol or high blood pressure, all those kind of illnesses. Nobody expects a person to stop taking their blood pressure medication and then just carry on as though blood pressure is going to be normal once they stop that medication. And obesity is now being viewed through exactly the same lens. And that doesn't automatically mean that every single one of us is going to need Mounjaro or a similar medication for the rest of their lives. Many people successfully reduce their dose or stop altogether with no problems whatsoever. But it does explain why the conversation has shifted away from simply losing weight and towards maintaining weight loss. And that's where it's becoming so important for me, that maintenance side of things. Because like me and many other people, reaching the goal weight isn't the finish line. It's the point where we move into a different phase of the journey, and then we've got to work out how we keep this weight off. And that's why maintenance has now become one of the biggest topics in obesity worldwide, regardless of how you lose weight, whether that's medications, whether that's Slimming World, whether that's Weight Watchers, intermittent fasting, any of those things. It's completely changed how it's viewed, and that can only be a positive for every single one of us. And this is the part where I think the word forever can become a little bit misleading, because when people hear it, they often imagine taking exactly the same dose every single week for the rest of their lives. But it's not what long-term treatment necessarily looks like, and that's not what I want it to look like for me. In reality, there can't be one single path that works for everyone, because each and every one of us are on different journeys. Each and every one of us reacts differently. Each and every one of us will have learned and taken away something different from this medicated weight loss journey. You'll have people who work with a healthcare team to stop completely after they've spent a few months building habits that they feel they can confidently maintain. And there's people who come off the medication cold turkey, do well for a period of time, and then find their appetite gradually returns or the weight starts creeping on. In those cases, restarting treatment is not and never will be a sign of failure. It's simply another way of managing a condition that can fluctuate over months and years. It's exactly how we approach so many long-term health problems, because what happens is your treatment is adjusted as your circumstances change. But the important thing to remember, there isn't one finish line that's going to suit every single one of us. Your age, your style and weight, your medical history, your lifestyle, how your body responds to all these different outside influences, what your long-term plan absolutely looks like. And that's a far more useful conversation to have, because it focuses on finding out the approach that suits you, suits me, suits all of us individually, rather than expecting every single one of us to follow exactly the same journey, which we know is not true and cannot be a thing. It cannot happen that way, because we are all so different. So where does all that leave me currently? Well, I'm nearly at my goal weight. I'm 13 pounds away. And if there's one thing this journey's taught me, it's that Mounjaro isn't a quick fix. I imagined it would be when I started. I never ever imagined I'd be taking the medication for as long as I have been, which is just over 13 months now. Like a lot of people, I thought I'd lose weight, stop the injections, move on. As straightforward as it could possibly be. But now I realise it's rarely straightforward. I also think many of us will be on these medications for a lot longer than we expected. Not necessarily forever, but certainly longer than the picture we had in our heads on day one when we first put the injection inside us. What you've got to do, and it's what I'm now doing, is I don't want to see that as a negative. All this has done is simply given me time to lose over 80 pounds, improve my health, build routines that feel normal, and hopefully help me understand how my body responds to all this. And because of all that, my plan isn't to reach my target weight and stop overnight. I released a video a few weeks ago where I explained my entire maintenance plan, and I will pop it on the screen now, and I'll also pop it on the screen at the end of the video. But for me, it's going to be about spending time maintaining my weight, giving my body and my habits a chance to settle before changing anything. If it all goes well, I'm going to look at reducing my dose gradually. Rather than making all these sudden jumps, I'm just going to see how things respond, and whether the habits I've built are enough on their own, or whether my weight remains stable. If it does, fantastic. If it doesn't, then I'll make the decisions based on the evidence my own body offers up rather than giving me the outcome I was really hoping and praying for. There will be no prizes for coming off the medication as quick as possible. And if anyone tells you there is, they're probably lying to you. And that's why I really don't see having to stop the Mounjaro as being a success. For me, the success is all going to be about keeping the weight off and protecting that progress that I've worked so very hard to try and achieve. So if I'm going to answer the question in the title of the video, will you be on Mounjaro forever? My answer is always going to be the same. I really don't know. And I don't think that's the right question you should be asking. The better question really is, what's the best way for me to keep this weight off? If I can do that without medication one day, fantastic, brilliant, great news. If I need support for longer, I'm okay with that too. And when you get the other people who pop up in the comments and they say, you're just going to put all the weight back on when you start, I will not accept that either. Nobody can predict what will happen to any one individual. I know the evidence. I know some people regain weight. I know some people maintain it. And others, they will need to restart the treatment. And I'll deal with that decision as and when I get there. If I need to start the medication again once I finally stop it, so be it. It's really not the end of the world. And if that's what it's going to take to keep me healthy, then so be it. What I've got to do right now is keep focused on something much more important than proving I can stop a medication. And once again, it's about focusing on protecting the progress I've made, staying healthy and giving myself the best chance ever of never having to lose 80 pounds ever again in my life. So that's exactly where I stand. I don't see Mounjaro as a short-term fix, but I don't automatically see it as a lifetime commitment either. I see it as a tool. I've only ever seen it as a tool, and it's a tool that I'm going to use to build me a healthier future. And I'll make decisions based on what actually happens, not on fear, not on assumptions, or not what other people think should happen. I would genuinely love to hear your thoughts on that too. If you're taking Mounjaro or another GLP-1 medication, what's your plan? Do you hope to completely stop one day? Are you expecting to stay on a maintenance dose? Or are you still undecided? I know I do get a lot of comments from people saying, I'm going to stay on it for life. That's okay, that's absolutely fine. But let me know down below in the comments what you think the answer is for you. Not for me, not for Sally down the road, not for Steve down the garage, what the answer is for you. Because I really think that is one of the most important conversations anyone can have when we're talking about weight loss medications. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, as it really does help the channel. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Every single week, every Wednesday, every Sunday, I share my own journey. We have an honest discussion about what it's really like to lose weight with Mounjaro, and more importantly, how we think we're going to keep it off. I will pop a few videos on the screen right now. One of them will be one that YouTube thinks you're going to love watching, so if you could check that one out, it would be amazing. And the other one will be my maintenance plan video that I released a few weeks ago. I will see you all on Sunday for a little bit more chilled out Sunday coffee morning. If you've got a question for Q&A, pop it down below in the comments. And if you've got a pet peeve of the week, pop that down below in the comments also. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all for a coffee on Sunday.